All right, so welcome to our March edition of the EWWW Image Optimizer live office hours. Today we are going to talk about privacy concerns and the GDPR a bit, and all the ins and outs of what we do with user data, both customer data, like our customers, and the customers of our customers. So, which is typically what folks are more concerned about, though, of course, we do have data erasure requests from customers from time to time, so we'll talk about that as well. So first, I'm going to go through some of the things from our privacy policy. If you're on our website, EWWW IO, you can go down to the bottom of that, and you'll see a privacy link there, as well as our terms of service if you ever have need to peruse that. It's no legalese and all human readable, so it should be pretty easy to make sense of. And I will show that as I'm talking. Maybe I gotta unpause that, don't I?
Yes, please. Thank you.
There we go. Okay. So first thing I want to talk about is the free version of the plugin, which has changed a little bit there. And so that I'm going to be updating shortly. But in short, if you're using the standard free version of the plugin, no data is ever sent off your server. That changes now if your server is not capable of prizes. It'll give you a big fat alert that says, hey, you can't use server-based compression. You need our cloud-based compression, and we'll give it to you for free. So when you click on that, and then it'll be processing images via our cloud API. All images processed on our API are not stored unless you enable image backups. If you're using the free version, you don't have that option, so nothing's ever going to be stored on that. The image gets sent to our server, optimized, sent back to your server, gone, and we don't see it. We do log the file name, and I was going to double check one thing real quick, so let me do that. And potentially your website address would be the most that we would ever collect in the logs, and those are stored for 30 days, I believe. Yeah, 30 days. So let's just take a gander. I don't know that we even do. That would be in the user agent, would be coming from your site. If we would collect that at all. Why does it not want to show me? I want to see. Let's just do this. Yeah, we do log the user agent on those. So that's a user agent coming from your site, and typically the format of that is it'll say WordPress / the version number of WordPress that you're using, your site URL, EWWW / the plugin version that you have active. So that's the user agent. We're not, it's not the end user agent like Mozilla or Chrome or Safari or anything like that. So that's the only thing that we would track. And again, that's for 30 days is all we retain those logs. Go back over here before I cause an infinite mirror. Free version. So on the Compress API, again, with a paid customer, it's pretty similar with the one exception that we do store backups if you enable the API backups option, and those are only for 30 days as well. So we don't have any intention of storing those permanently because that would be a stupid amount of storage space, and we're not going to pay for that. Sorry.
And
Not
only
even if you
available
wanted us to.
Well, I was going to say, and also only available to restore on like an individual basis. This is not a, it's not a backup of your whole library that you could restore.
Right. It would only be the images that you've compressed, and only for 30 days after you compress them. So, and yeah, we don't have a bulk restore at this point. We might sometime later this year. We've had a lot of interest in local backups and a batch restore feature, but that's still just in the feature request stage. All right, so compress API, I think that's, and so in relation to the GDPR, I do want to note that all of our compress API servers are located in the US, specifically in San Francisco, so the state of California. If you are collecting images from your visitors and users, and you're not, authorized or whatever, you don't have a consent to transmit those to the US, then you should probably not use our compress API on those images. But otherwise, if you're not subject to the GDPR, well, then what do you do? We take good care of those images. Don't store them unless you tell us to. So there's all that. Although, I mean, realistically, we're not storing them anyway, so maybe even if you were collecting user data, they're not going to be stored there, so just don't use backups. Might be an option as well, but I'm not a lawyer, so definitely consult with your legal folks on whether or not that would be acceptable for a TV policy at the very least, that you're transmitting those images to be optimized on servers located in the United States. Let's see. The one that gets more fun, but probably less of an issue, is our EasyIO CDN. And with that, one, of course, if you're, again, collecting customer or visitor images, same stuff applies there, whatever CDN you're using. Make sure you're disclosing that. But the flip side of that is it's just distributed hosting. So you're not doing anything more than you already are by hosting a by hosting a website. You're just changing where those files are stored, which is still going to be in the EU if your customers are in the EU, and it only goes outside if your visitors are outside, which is the same as your web hosting. If someone in the US visits your website and views that image, it's now in the US. So this, to my knowledge, that's the same thing. It would be similar to like the network transit providers. They all have access to IP addresses and everything already, and no one's freaking out about that. But you do definitely want to take a little bit more care with your web hosting CDN, but it's pretty similar in nature. Again, not a lawyer, so talk to your legal team on that, but I would restrictions apply to web hosting and CDN usage. But what do we actually do with those images? So that's what I really want to focus on. So our CDN provider is in the EU. It's Bunny CDN. So that's what all our front end processing is. All of it's on there. They don't log anything that we don't tell them to, which is nothing. We have all logging disabled on all of our CDN zones, so nothing's logged. And I just confirmed that with them, that they don't log anything unless we specifically enable it. And I could confirm that also because I've had conversations in the past where I've said, hey, do you have any data on this? And like, nope, we don't, because you don't have logging enabled. So that's the front end. And of course, like I said, if you get traffic from outside the EU, just like your web hosting, those images are going to be transmitted outside the EU anyway. That's just part of hosting a website. Beyond that, we have compression servers behind the Bunny CDN Edge nodes that do all the work of resizing and optimizing and converting to WebP and all of that stuff. Those are separate from the Compress API, whole completely separate fleet of servers. And if your site is hosted in the EU, your images will be processed in Frankfurt in Germany. So that is the extent of where our images go. And from there, those servers are requested from your server. So if your server, again, is located in the EU, it's going from your server in the EU to our servers in the EU to Bunny CDN, and then to the visitor. Ways that you can delete those images. So I've been reading up a little bit on different things and things that we've talked to customers about where they're a little more concerned about images on the CDN or even the Compress API. And two common cases are employee pictures and then also model pictures, or at least that's one I've thought of. Most of the time, I think from the customer standpoint, it's been, if we have employee pictures. With the CDN, if you do have employee pictures, of course, you're going to have to erase that from all of your servers if they exercise their right to erasure. So from your website with your web host, if you store it on any other server, on Dropbox or wherever, you got to remove it from there. And then I would just recommend you go and purge your entire CDN zone. It's not great for performance, but to comply with the data erasure, it's the best option and the quickest option, because trying to purge who knows how many URLs for a given employee, that would be a pain in the butt. I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. So just purge your zone and you'll be good. That clears everything from both the CDN side and our backend servers in Frankfurt. Caching on that, just for reference, while we use a 1-year browser expiration cache, none of the CDN servers actually store your images for that long or any assets for that long. It depends on how frequently the asset is accessed by visitors. So if you have people hitting a certain page every day, it's going to stay in the CDN cache until that stops. It's only a few days at most that gets stored on the CDN. On our end, we store them currently for 2 weeks on the back-end cache. And then, of course, after it's 2 weeks old, we purge it. And then if we need to optimize it again, we do. But generally, if a page is getting any traffic, 2 weeks is plenty. So that's what we store there. Going back briefly, well, there's lots of information out there about what you need to do in regards to employee photos and model photos. Model photos are a little less restrictive because, from my understanding, employee photos are based on them giving you consent to use that picture. So like signing a model release contract, which they can then withdraw consent and exercise their right to erasure. A model contract is a contractual obligation, and so that's a little different. In that contract, there's going to be language that specifies how you're allowed to use that image, but that's a different thing than consent-based usage of an image, apparently. Again, not a lawyer. Consult yours if you have one. And if you really need to take care of that sort of stuff, then you should probably have one or consult with one. So, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's there's other information about your data and what we do with it. We never share it with anyone. If you sign up for our mailing lists or purchase any of our services, we do store your email in MailChimp, whether you're subscribed or not. If you're not subscribed, then we store that you're just transactional email only in there. Yeah. But if you're curious about any of that other stuff, go on over and check out our privacy policy, and it'll give you all the details. A couple last notes I wanted to mention in relation to IP addresses and logging on our EasyIO CDN service. With our other services, the Compress API and the free plugin, that information is never exposed at all. But on the CDN, of course, that IP address is transmitted with the network request. And like we said before, Bunny CDN doesn't log those unless we tell them to, and we don't. We tell them specifically not to. And then on our backend servers, we also do not store the entire IP address. We anonymize it, and then that is forwarded on to the origin server, and we randomize and anonymize the version that we forward as well, so that it's not the same as the original IP address and cannot be used for tracking. So that's all I have on that, and have a great day.